Dave T1963, and rather than doing a pack dump like I've done for the last 4 or 5 years, I figured what I'd do this year is just go over some of the basic equipment I use. I'm kind of weekend before opening season. I'm going to start Thursday morning, so kind of getting all my gear, last minute prep and stuff, and I thought perfect time to kind of just go through some of the gear that I use. I'm probably going to have to break this up in several videos as I'm using my phone and it cuts off after 5 or 10 minutes of filming, so we'll see how long it goes, but I'll chop this up in blocks and kind of cover what I use for ground hunting, what I'm going to use this year for tree stand hunting, some of the clothing I like to use, my bow and arrow. I might even make a video of the 3 different kayaks I use and why I like the different ones that I have. So we'll see where it goes. Anyway, let's start this off. I guess, you know, we all hunt with one thing that's in common no matter what we do as bow hunters. We're all using a bow and arrow. So let me start with that. I've been shooting traditional archery for 40-something years. I started when I was about, oh gosh, the first time I picked up a bow was probably when I was 14 or 15. And I document all this on the Beast in my profile. But I've been shooting traditional ever since then. 2 years. When compounds were first coming out and they kind of gained popularity, I had hurt my shoulder at one point lifting weights, and I shot compound for a year. Didn't like it. There was just too much I had to kind of go through and stuff, and to me traditional archery is just so much simpler, and I just wasn't that good with the compound and stuff, but I really didn't know what I was doing. And then a couple years ago, once again, I re-injured my shoulder, and I'm having a lot of problems with my elbows and all my joints, so I shot compound a little bit that year, and I shot it just a little bit last year as my shoulder started acting up. So, but this year I've taken care of myself. Haven't lifted weights this year, and been shooting my bow every day, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable that I'm going to be able to make it through the season. I've shot, I don't know how many different types of bows. I started out with an old Howard Hunter way back when, and I've used Black Widow, I've used Jim Brackenberry, I've used, oh gosh, I can't even think of all the names, Caribou, I've used Bruin, I've used Robertson. I've used a bunch of different custom-made bows, and liked them all. I've got a heck of a collection, too many bows. What I'm going to be hunting with this year is, for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been shooting Caribou out of Canada exclusively. Abe puts together, in my opinion, one of the best traditional bows out there. But this year I'm shooting his 60-inch Slinks model, and this draws 50 pounds at 27 inches, and I draw about 27 and a half, so it's about a 51-pound bow for me. I've already documented my arrow selection. I'm shooting the Gold Tip 400s. These are 28 and 7/8 inch long, 3 4-inch feather fletching, 100 grain brass insert, and then the big Simmons Shark on the end, 200 grains. So right at 600 grains. The FOC when I measured this out was about 24.75. So 24 to 25 FOC, and I'm really happy with the results. I've always shot heavy arrows and big cut-on contact broadheads. The quiver I'm using is from Eagle Flight Archery. I think it's called a Navajo or something, I'm not real sure, but Don Ward makes these, and I'm pretty happy with them. So typically I like to take my quiver off, but this year I think I'm going to leave my quiver on my bow just because it gives me a little bit more mass weight and helps me to hold steady. I still have shoulder and I still have elbow issues, so that's important to me. And I cover all this in another video. One thing I did do is I put a zip tie loop on here, so this is easier to hang on a bow hook. One of the things with traditional bows is when you hang them from a hook, they tend, as weight pulls down, they can get stuck in here. And right at crunch time when you're trying to get that off, sometimes it can get a little hairy, so I tend to come up with ways to mitigate things, and that's what I came up with. So that's the bow and the arrows I'm going to start the season out with. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to maintain that. We'll see. You know, climbing trees prepping trees and all that kind of stuff does take a toll on my shoulders, so we'll see. But I'm feeling pretty good and pretty confident I'll be able to shoot traditional this year. All right, so that's my bow and arrow selection. Now let's talk saddles. And there are so many different brands of saddles out there right now. No, I haven't tried every one out there. I've tried, I would say 90% of them. You'd be surprised at some of the saddles I try that I never make a video of. But anyway, there's a lot of good information out there. There's a lot of bad information on saddle hunting. And one thing I want to say right up front, this idea of comfort in the saddle. I don't care what saddle you're using. If you sit for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13 hours like I do on my all-day early season sits, you're going to get uncomfortable. It's going to have pressure points. That's called gravity. And anytime you have a solid strap that gravity's coming to rest against, and these mesh and fabric, they give. These straps, what carries the weight load, you're gonna have pressure points develop. You gotta adjust it as you're hunting. So there's just a lot of information out there that I think is kind of hokey. Everyone kind of got their favorite saddle model, and I'm all for that. I love seeing all the competition and stuff like that, but you know, don't listen to what anyone says on YouTube about this one's more comfortable, this one's more comfortable, da-da-da. Go try them for yourself, because I'm telling you, I can sit in any saddle and make it comfortable. I have sat in, I can't tell you how many different saddles over the years, and comfort to me is you learn to mitigate the drape, how high your tether is, and all that to give you a comfortable sit. Having said that, as many of you are aware, I field test tethered gear. That's what I do. They came to me a couple years ago and asked me to test some gear and give them some input, and so I've been doing that. I don't get paid by tethered. I don't get free product. In fact, you can see right here, I've got the John Everhart new saddle right here. I paid full price, the same price you're going to pay for it. And I mean, it's a good saddle. John has been doing this longer than anyone. And you know, there's some YouTube videos popping out now about this is a copy of that, da-da-da-da-da. Let me tell you something. This all evolved from Green's tree saddles way back decades ago. John's been using a green saddle since that time. He's modified it. So John's not copied anyone. For anyone to even suggest that, they either, one, don't know what they're talking about, or two, they got a blatant bias against the company backing John. John's been doing this longer than anyone. But don't take my word for it. Go look at when he produced his books and his videos and stuff, and then go look at some of these newcomers on the scene that are building, you know, that they took a saddle to Saddle Palooza and it took off there. Horse crap. Horse crap. John Everhart kept the Green's 2-panel sling alive for all those years. He didn't copy off of anyone. Tethered helped him commercialize this. That's it. But this is based directly off of John's saddle. Now I'll tell you, having said that, I'm not a two-panel saddle guy. So I'm probably not going to hunt out of the Everhart saddle this year. As much as I admire John and I like what he's done for the industry and how he hunts it, 2 saddle panels and a ring of steps don't work for me. So without a doubt, the saddle that I'm going to be using this year is without a doubt my favorite saddle I've ever hunted out of, and that's the Phantom from Tethered. I've sat in a lot of saddles and I don't have to use this. I'm not getting paid to make this video right now. No one will know what I use out in the woods, all right, unless I start recording my hunts. And I haven't ever done that really until after the fact. This is just the best saddle I've ever hunted in. It is comfortable. I can make this, I sit from, there's a lot of times in the early season I'm in my stand at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I don't get out of my stand until after dark, which is after 9 o'clock. So you do the math on how long that is. That's a long day in the saddle, and I've sat all day in early season. So I have no problems with comfort on this. Sorry about the traffic noise. Figured if I got out here early enough it wouldn't have this, but this is just, I love how compact this is. I throw this in my pack because a lot of times how I hunt is I'm wading creeks chest deep. I don't want to have to be taking my saddle on and off, taking my pack on and off. So everything goes in the pack, and I'll carry that on my shoulder across river crossings or creek crossings or whatever. So that's just how I use. But the Phantom to me is the single best saddle that has ever been made for hunting. This came about from years of DIY. You can go back on Saddle Hunter, which captures the tail end. This started way before Saddle Hunter was even a forum. This started back over on Archery Talk or whatever, where a group of us were DIYing and trying to fix our, what was then the old tree saddles up, or green saddles and stuff to make them work. So these are the saddles I'm using. I've got several other makes of saddles and stuff. They're not going to be in my arsenal this year. So that's the saddles I'm using. What's next? Let's talk, because everyone knows me as a saddle hunter. Let's talk about my platforms and what I'm planning on hunting with this year. Once again, I'm a minimalist type guy. I like to put everything in my pack. So without a doubt, the single best platform that I believe has ever been made for saddle hunting is the Predator, the Predator platform. I keep getting the Phantom and the Predator mixed up, from Tethered. This thing with the buckle and everything, I think it's right under 4 pounds, 3.5, 3.7 pounds or whatever. Fits right in my pack. And I know there's a debate on which is better, ring of steps, platforms. The way I hunt is I go into an area, I hunt that morning, I scout hunt a lot of times during the middle of the day, find a new setup. So I'm constantly in new trees. Very seldom do I hunt the same tree twice in a season, unless it's just a dang good rut funnel. But so I have to have gear that I can use in whatever tree I encounter. Some of my trees, I'm only getting 8 foot high, and they're multi-branched. Think mesquite trees. You are not going to walk around a tree with ring of steps under 20 foot high where I hunt and not get busted. You're not going to do it. I see all these things, and even John Eberhard is a stout supporter of a ring of steps, but I disagree with that. I can turn 360 and shoot 360 around that tree off of this with far less movement than I ever was able to off a ring of step. So, to me, this is the way I'm going. It's how I use a platform. Occasionally, on a real big tree, I will carry a Ameristep with 1 or 2 steps, and I'll put them to where I can take either a step backward to turn more or a step around on my strong side. But realistically, how I hunt and how I set up, I look for ideal ambush spots. And I would say probably 70-80% of the time, I know exactly where that deer is going to come through, and most of my shots I set up to where it's right off my strong side. The platform just helps me on those occasions where I get surprised, and let's face it, we all get surprised. But I don't have those trees I can get 30 foot high that are limbless, that you don't have to do a lot of trimming and stuff like that. That's just not how our trees are down here. I'm usually up in post oaks or blackjack oaks, or I can't even think of the thorn trees with the long pods right now off the top of my head. But I hunt a lot of trees that are multi-branched, multi-trunked, and so walking around a tree is it's not an option. There's a lot of trees I can't even shoot off behind the tree because of the branches and stuff that I hunt on. So anyway, to me, the Tethered Predator platform is the way to go for that. Now, I haven't given up stands 100%, and I've used Lone Wolf since they came out. And this year I bought the Lone Wolf Custom Gear .5, and all I will say is I am absolutely impressed with this. Thing weighs about as much as the Ambush, okay, a little bit more than the Ambush, and it gives me far more flexibility. There are times I will get up in our red cedars here that there's so many branches and we can't trim branches that it would be almost impossible to shoot any other way but with a platform wedged in there with enough head height between the next limb to where I can shoot out with a longbow. Shoot straight out in front of me. So I do that quite a bit, and this is going to be my setup for that. Absolutely impressed with this stand. I got a set of their double sticks coming, which I guess we'll lead right into the next topic. What am I using for sticks this year? Right now, my plan is to use the beast sticks. Now, I've used these a lot last year, and I used them all through the summer, scouting, prepping trees, setting up cameras, and I've grown to really like these beast sticks. So right now, that's my plan for October 1st. However, I do have a set that I paid full price for of the tethered one sticks coming, and I will give them a run for the money and see if they replace my beast sticks. I've also got a set of the Lone Wolf Custom Gear double steps coming. So I've got 3 sticks that I'm going to kind of be playing with this year, and we'll see what winds up winning for me. To me, the most important factor in the climbing stick and the way I use them, and you can look at my old previous helium videos, is I want them compact. I want to be able to use my one-step movable aider that I came up with, and I want them reasonably lightweight, you know, something that's easy to get in and out of the woods, easy to set up. I'll modify them with a Versa button and am steel rope. That's the system I like and use. I've tried all the other things. I've tried the straps. I've tried what do you call the daisy chains and all that, and I 100% keep coming back to just plain old am steel, wrapping around the tree and hitching it that way. So that's my gear that I'm going to be using to get up in a tree. I don't think I'm missing anything else. I'm going to stop this video at this point, and then I'll continue in video 2. Dave T1963 out.